So hello, everyone. My name is Laura Varesi. I am the president of Burnaby Writers. I run Spoken Inc. Sheila McDonald, as I said, is my co-host. So we'll begin. Alyda Faber lives in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where she teaches systematic theology and ethics at Atlantic School of Theology. She has published 2 poetry collections, Poisonous If Eaten Raw, 2021, and Dust or Fire, 2016, with Goose Lane Editions Icehouse Poetry. Her poems have also appeared in a chapbook, Berlinale Erotik, 2015, and in Canadian and Frisian literary magazines, including Art Poetry Magazine, Contemporary Verse 2, the Fiddlehead, the Malahat Review, and Riddle Fence. Okay, Alyda?
Welcome. Thank you, everyone, for coming. So we've been asked to read for about 20 minutes, so that's what I'm planning to do. I know this is Father's Day, but my book, Poisonous If Eaten Raw, is a series of mother portraits. The father is a bit of a shadowy figure, appears sometimes. There are 71 mother portraits, and I'm going to begin with the first one in the book, Portrait of My Mother as a Funneled Spider. From the open grave of silk sheeting where she hides, the funnel spider unwinds, creeps across my warm body, unconscious in the bed, to my hands twitching on the quilt. She bites between knuckle ridges and on the tender inner wrist. The livid bumps linger for days. Abandoned to cluster flies and spiders since mother died, flaps of floral wallpaper sag in my old bedroom. The mattress, still the same after 40 years, swallows me into a trench. I flip through illustrations in spiders and their kin, the deadly Australian atrax, the huntsman, wake with my face on the splayed book, not far from a spindly-legged arachnid, lone tenant of otherwise tenantless funnel webs that festoon niches on and under the windowsill and crannies of the mirrored dresser. A brindle spider, tan and brown, 6 of her legs a dog-lazy sprawl over the lip of the tunnel. Also at rest under rows of black eye dots, labial jaw flaps and palps like stunted legs. A snare of filaments on the web floor will snag the smallest spurs on insects' limbs, the least iota of guilt. Bad girl, a moral standard only the sainted mother can martyr daily. Too late, the lesson of the psalmist. Even the Holy One welcomes rage as well as praise. A light tap on the web, she vanishes into the tube as if accessory to a cheap magician. I resist the urge to snip surgically the tunnel skein, to expose her in her burrow. A stalwart discipline, days of fasting before she molts, pumps blood to inflate the cephalothorax, cracking open the old cuticle exoskeleton along vulnerable seams. As muscles quiver, she breaks out from the inside, wrenches her legs out of a bone-dry body double, rests free, and huddles till the callow skin stiffens. The next poem I'll read is called A Rough Measure, and 3 different artworks appear in the 3 stanzas. The first stanza is a painting remembered from an art gallery in Aarhus in Denmark. The second stanza, it's an artwork that's partly invented, but Susan Patterson does images like this often of domestic objects. This is a glass juicer. And The third one is a black and white photograph that was in the MoMA in New York City. But the imagination of the poem sees this in one gallery, all of these different remembered paintings. A rough measure. On a gallery wall, the color of eggplant, a Danish modernist painting. An unneighbored house on a low hill shadows the purple dusk. Solidity on the verge of lurching away. Windows, cadmium yellow. Ecce cor meum, its light she brought. Just as in my dream before her death, the narrow windows of the farmhouse shine like storefronts, casting into silhouette the queue in the yard, winding around a laden dessert table. At the center of a still life, a vintage glass juicer, Mammary Mound holds the fruit, hollowed to its rind over a moat of juice. Lucent, trailing curls of peel, lemons cut open. The lighting too soft to see strained faces, the shouting not worn off them yet. Rooms too large to hear citrus polyps burst with the friction. In a black and white photograph, porch posts and a calypso scroll running trim form the in-focus frame within the frame for blurred trees and out-of-focus houses. In the room behind me, undisturbed hours with her, not leveling exact teaspoons of baking powder or cups of flour, a rough measure good enough. Rarely eye to eye, at her best, shoulder to shoulder, our omentum. And this is the final poem in the book. If you know the book, you notice that I like looking at things on my kitchen windows, including slugs. And this is portrait of my mother as a moth on a kitchen window. Nothing can be read in her jet bead eyes, even with left fore and hind wings blown together in an opaque mouse gray cape. On the lee side, fringed wings spread angel wide, their transparency revealing a fretwork of veins. Slashes of rain mark the glass around her, feathered antennae blasted down to her wingtips. A wind gust flips her wings into a silvery flag, feet tethering the ridgepole of head, thorax, abdomen, her got legs as guy wires. The tent slackens, rests, until wind scuttles her dullness into a white sheet, dim to gray again when the tent flaps collapse onto the window. Feet adhering spider tight, wings billow, slump, billow till the storm abates. Against the rain-dark bark of the maple, she's almost spectral as she floats up and out through holes in the net of limbs. Marsh marigolds, poisonous if eaten raw, visited by thrips, bees, sawflies, a yellow sing-song in billowy spring light. They delight in God's law and meditate on it day and night, like trees planted by streams of water. We call her many names: cow lily, goldings, water goggles, brave bassinets. And she laughs as we always want her to laugh. Was there something she longed to give us that spread blight in the not giving? Petals spot fade and drop. Road dust dulls the glabrous leaves. Tarnished, crenulated crowns discarded in ditches. And the next one is called Portrait Hidden. You bowed to unmarked death sites. So we learned that driving could be as deadly as air raids. Casualties piled at this four-way stop, this intersection's blind hill, this dead end to Pearl Lake. To see you, I read my own entrails with as much certainty as that occult art commands. I mime what I learned from you. In the deep end of the pool, I was doing what the swimming instructor told us to do, removing a life jacket while treading water, but I wasn't treading water because I didn't know how. I could not cry help. I'd learned to keep silent in distress. I did not stop struggling, going on dogged, as you also taught me. Thrashing, arms overhead, tangled in orange straps and padding, choking on chlorinated water till the instructor jumped in. You were not on one of the benches outside the fence where parents waited for lessons to end, but you were there somewhere. Twice we went to Friesland together. In my childhood diary, you're there, shopping, eating, calling an ambulance for your father. In my adult journal, you weren't there even though we shared a bed some of those weeks. Lethargic, sepsis spreading, I could no longer make room for you on the mottled page. The record may show that we had an emergency, but no one called for help. No sirens wailed, no ambulance came. We went on like this, stiff, and then stiffer, not saying much, well, talking so much and staying so hidden. And then you died. Portrait of my mother as a black-capped chickadee. Chitter out of alder, a lost voice. Ordinary days to live together, gone. And in those gone days, the sin cap worn too often. I held the sinner's bench, made you the saint. Mother and daughter not enough for each other, but might have been had we looked at each other more. Had I learned your foraging habits, not long on a perch before flitting to the next seed head, the next branch. Your roundish body writes erratic signatures in the fence rows. Dreaming in speech bubbles, words pour with such viscosity, I could eat their sadness. Woody nightshade. A single berry could kill just as one goddamn would condemn us all to hell. No distinction made between poisonous and narcotic in your warning not to eat berries in the lane. Under a stray hemlock in the lines of red pines bordering the lane, our pine-thatched hut was walled by the grassy slope of the raised driveway and the field fence. Wire and posts clothed with woody nightshade straggling branches, auriculate leaves, flowers with purplish petals, conical yellow stamens, our summer window drapery. In the company of the broom swish sounds of the trees, we passed mornings as if we'd traveled distances and had nowhere to return to. But your metal whistle could still summon us to noon dinner. It's as if we eat this opiate, Ameridulcus. All of us sleepwalk in the hall, collide in the dark, our downturned heads. In late autumn's dun world, bare stems entwine wire rectangles. Clusters of berries hang sun-fired chandeliers above a dried needle floor. So within the 71 mother portraits, there are little mini series, and this is a very mini series. It is portraits of all of the band members of Rush, the Canadian rock band Rush, and this one is Portrait of My Mother as Neil Peart, who of course died last year, great drummer. The drummers in the back seat limelight, where washy-toned hi-hat and ride cymbals join bass and snare drums, cowbells, temple block, rack toms, and floor toms as they bicker and clack it. This crowded kit, and your only wish that hands and feet dish up. But you don't want your whole life to become a performance. Leave worship for the gods. It's too corrosive for human souls. Besides, the sublime, best show ever arrives, subsides, gone. Exciting and boring repetitions, joint pain, splitting calluses. You claim ordinary incognito, just a guy on a motorcycle in the rain looking for a motel. When grief guts your house, you cross continents, hearing in your bones the conductorless orchestra of the world, your eyes lamps, your hands cups. And here is a poem from a slightly less mini series. There are a number of poems that are related to medieval towns, and it never occurred to me until a reviewer noted this, that my mother was in fact born in a medieval town called Leeuwarden. A town medieval built by the mother, summer. She mortared imagination into a town that sings the canonical hours, lauds to Compline, psalms of praise round as church bells, clanging coins in the cobbled streets, falling from wide pockets. Mercy to the small and forgotten. People gossip in a huddle, their voices uneven ringtones of sparrows perched under eaves. Dimly lit by windows, a man stands before a loom throwing a shuttle. A woman draws fibers from the distaff, twists between her fingers, a lengthening filament on the spinning drop spindle. Willow tree streamers whisk over a pond of waking fish. A dog sleeps in the long morning shade, a fly crawling to and fro on its cracked nose. The mother spreads a picnic in the corner of a field, men bent at work, grain stooks slack-jawed in noon sun. Unseen hands shuffle leaves in the oak tree, a welcome breeze. From her basket, tea in swaddled jars, bread, cheese, dark spice cake. Palm to palm, she leads her children here, enters this peace. And the last poem I'll read is called Hide. A puff of must exhaled from a woman's cap sleeve as she lowers her arm. She can't foreclose on vigilance now. Her sister-in-law's Scotch terrier crouches behind the sofa skirt, ready to snip at her exposed Achilles. She forgets that she once believed a husband could have the forbearance her father had. She lowers her eyes, head, twists a key in the lock below her diaphragm. If she rides the raft of her sadness, where will she go? When the first taste of soup has been too quick, every spoonful after ignites the burn trail down her throat. Ghost green in the rain, lichen beards an aging maple. Her pregnant niece stretches, reveals tender underbellies of biceps. The cats alone in the house one Tuesday, a fallen window sash traps the calico's forelegs for hours, blows them up into oblong balloons. The tabby pecks her, staccato bites, a sewing machine needle gunning into fabric. At the end, he wasn't there. The wife fish gulps air, unbuttons a gray sweater in her eyes, covers her face.